This day in sports history. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. You can find more great podcasts and more info at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's May 10th, and on this day in 1998, St. Louis Blues defenseman Chris Pronger nearly died on the ice. This was Game 2 of the Blues' second-round playoff series with the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings were up 4-1 early in the third period, and they were on a power play and were about to get a two-man advantage when Pronger blocked a shot with his body.
Hands it across, big drive, and that one blocked and into the equipment of Jeff Portnoy, and another penalty coming up.
Detroit's going to have a two-man advantage for 10 seconds. Pronger could be hurting here, guys. He took the slap shot into the chest. This isn't funny. There's a problem here. He took the slap shot into the chest. The trainer's out there quickly, and you can see with that slap shot into his ribs and chest, he's having some problems. And here comes John Wharton from the Detroit bench. Just very serious.
In an interview Pronger did with ESPN and the Drop podcast years later, he said he didn't remember much about the incident.
No, I just remember stepping out to block the shot. Hit me right in the heart. It stung, as only a slap shot can, but it stung. And I just corralled the puck. I wanted to get a whistle. But also in my head, I'm like, all right, now get up. Once you hear the whistle, get up, get to the bench. We're in Detroit, so I didn't want to give too much fuel for the booing and everything. So in my head, I'm like, all right, get to the bench. I blacked out on the ice.
After getting checked out at a hospital in Detroit, he met with a heart specialist the following day. Given the all clear, Pronger was back on the ice for Game 3 on the 12th and played 41.5 minutes, more than any other Blues player, and assisted a goal in a 3-2 loss. Pronger's near-death experience caused an equipment change. He put an extra pad to cover his heart onto his shoulder pads, and a year or so later that was standard with all shoulder pads from the NHL down to youth hockey. Pronger's episode was brought back into the spotlight after Buffalo Bills defensive back Damar Hamlin took a shot to the heart and nearly died on the field in January of 2023. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. The St. Louis Blues are part of this next story as well as we rewind the clock to what happened on this day in 1970 when the Boston Bruins won their first Stanley Cup in 29 years. It was Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Bruins had won the first 3 games against the St. Louis Blues and were going for the sweep in a packed Boston Garden. These two teams had a little bad blood between them going back to a preseason game. A stick fight between the Bruins' terrible Ted Green and the Blues' Wayne Mackey resulted in a fractured skull for Green. Green missed the entire season due to his brain injury. Side note, both players were charged with assault because of that fight, and it was the first time that criminal charges had been filed against a hockey player due to on-ice activity. Both were later acquitted. So, despite that being months in the rear-view mirror, it still lingered with the Bruins. Here in Game 4, the game was tied at 1 at the end of the first. Boston's leading scorer that year, Phil Esposito, scored a second-period goal to tie it again at 2. In the third, the Blues took a 3-2 lead on a Larry Keenan goal, but Johnny Busick evened it again, and the game went to overtime. With just 40 seconds gone in the OT period, Bobby Orr made the game-winning play, one that would be immortalized in bronze decades later.
Westfall rolled it in front. Sanderson tried a shot that was wide, and Keenan cleared it, but not out. Bobby Orr behind the net to Sanderson. Orr! Bobby Orr scores in the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup. Orr looking it into the closed door, and look at the long team by the Bruins as Bobby Orr, their 22-year-old sensation, scores after 40 seconds of overtime. And the Bruins win the Stanley Cup.
Orr fired the shot as he was tripped, and the puck slipped past Glenn Hall for the series clincher. The image of Orr flying through the air like Superman became an iconic image. It was the Bruins' first Stanley Cup since 1941. It had been a breakout season for Orr, who led the league with 120 points, becoming the first defenseman to record more than 100, and he capped it with the iconic goal to win the Cup. The shot of Orr in the air after being tripped by Noel Picard was turned into a bronze statue that resides out front of TD Garden. That statue was unveiled on this day in 2010 to commemorate the 40-year anniversary of what happened on this day in 1970. So the Cleveland Cavaliers have suffered at the hands of the Chicago Bulls and mostly at the hands of Michael Jordan for a long time. Well, it seemed like whenever it looked like Cleveland had a chance to advance in the NBA playoffs, there was Jordan and the Bulls sending them home for the summer. Well, on this day in 2015, it was a little payback time. This was Game 4 of the second-round playoff series between the Cavs and the Bulls. Derrick Rose tied the game with 8.4 seconds left. Cleveland was out of timeouts. Everybody in the building, listening on radio and watching on television, knew that LeBron was going to have the ball in his hands to go for the game winner. But the ball was slapped out of bounds after Jimmy Butler shut down LeBron's drive. But the ball went off a Bull, and so now with 1.5 seconds left, the Cavs had one last shot to win it in regulation. To say the Cavaliers' radio guys had fun with this play would be a bit of an understatement.
LeBron, the catch, corner, shoot, fires, go! Take that, Chicago! Take that, Chicago! We're coming back to Q, tied into a piece! Unbelievable!
Not a series clincher like Jordan hit against them in '89, but still a last-second bucket to win it on the road. The series shifted back to Cleveland, and the Cavs won the series in 6. On this day in 1994, it was a wild ninth inning in Atlanta that led to a even wilder finish several innings later. And this game is kind of special to me because I was actually at this game at the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. This was a Phillies-Braves game on a Tuesday night. Philadelphia led 3-1 when they broke it open in the 7th when Pete Incaviglia hit a grand slam off Steve Bedrosian as part of a 5-run inning. They took that 8-1 lead into the bottom of the 9th. Philadelphia starter Sean Bosky had pitched a solid game up to that point, giving up only 2 hits, one of which was a solo homer to Charlie O'Brien back in the 5th. So Bosky was 3 outs away from his first complete game in 4 years. And that's when the Braves' bats woke up. Ryan Klesko, Fred McGriff, and David Justice singled to load the bases, and that chased Bosky to the showers. Another single by Mark Lemke off reliever Doug Jones scored a run, and the Braves still had bases loaded with no outs. O'Brien painted the left field line with a base hit that scored 2 more, and the place started to get a little bit loud. Still a 4-run deficit, but there was a little hope building. That brought shortstop Mike Mordecai to the plate with 2 on and still no outs.
To left field and deep. Back to the wall goes Thompson. It's gone. How about that? Mordecai with a 3-run homer. And the tying run does come to the plate.
So how about this for crazy? This was only the second Major League game for Mordecai, and that 3-run home run was his first Major League hit. Mordecai only played 2 more games with the Braves after this one before being sent back to AAA Richmond. But now it's 8-7. Bill Pecota made the first out of the inning. Deion Sanders singled to center, and that ended Doug Jones's night. With Neon Deion on first, he was a base-stealing threat, and fortunately he was running when Dave Gallagher grounded to third, or else it could have ended the game with a double play. Now, with the runner in scoring position and 2 outs, Bobby Cox sent pinch hitter Javier Lopez to the plate.
A base hit and we're tied. Everybody on their feet. First pitch, line down the right field line. Deion Sanders will score. Javi Lopez comes through and we're tied.
A pop-up ended the inning and the game headed to extras. Neither team scratched for a run from the 10th through the 14th. Philadelphia went scoreless in the top of the 15th as Tuesday became Wednesday. With one out, Dion took a 3-0 pitch to the opposite field corner for a stand-up double, and now Sanders represented the winning run. The Phillies intentionally walked the next man to pitch to Braves pitcher Mike Stanton. In a normal situation, Bobby Cox would have pinch hit for his pitcher, but at this point in the 15th, he was running out of players, and so he sent Stanton to the plate. Dion swiped third base, and now the winning run was 90 feet away.
We're in the bottom of the 15th, tied at 8, and Gallagher's going. Stanton pops up the bunt, and it's going to get in! Oh, what a play! How can you believe it? I don't believe it! He can do it all!
It took 4 hours and 36 minutes to play it, about 20 minutes to get on the MARTA with happy Braves fans like me, and 2 pissed-off Phillies guys, and 3.5 hours to get home. Thanks for driving, Brits. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Ben Franklin nearly died from cooking a turkey. And I suppose that doesn't sound too odd now that people fry turkeys in their driveways a little bit too close to the house, but Franklin was not deep frying this one. The guy was pretty intrigued by electricity, right? Makes sense. Well, while planning an outing by the Schuylkill River, Franklin wrote, "A turkey is to be killed for our dinner by electrical shock and roasted by the electrical jack before a fire kindled by the electrified bottle." But it seems when he prepared the bird for the feast and he engaged the electricity to cook it, a flash of light engulfed him, nearly electrocuting him.